What's up everybody, Colin Rich here. Today we're going to talk through ambient stuff. Pads, swells, textures, all of that good stuff. So really what you need to have in order to do this is a delay and reverb. And that reverb needs to be capable of giving you some really massive reverb sounds, whether it's a hall setting or a church or chamber. I know there's all kinds of different crazy names. Really anything that's going to give you a very long decay and a lot of wash is going to be what you're going to want to use. So I'm going to just walk you through what I'm using and then some simple applications just to create atmosphere and some of this ambience that we're going to be talking through today. So first thing, I'm going to show you my current delay setting. While delay is important to all of this, reverb is key. So you could achieve this without delay. I just think it helps make it a little bit busier because it's repeating itself. Your signal running through the delay pedal, it's repeating itself into the reverb, and so it's going to give you a lot of these different layers and sounds that are hitting the reverb. So this is just my approach. So I'm running my Boss DD500 for my delay. I'm on a vintage digital patch, and I've got a modulated dotted eighth sound dialed in. It's fairly simple, but let me give you an example just so you can hear what I'm working with. So nothing too crazy there. I've got it set at 67 beats per minute. We're going to be playing a little bit slower working through this ambient stuff anyway, so I figure that's a great starting point. And yeah, in my opinion, nothing too crazy there. It sounds like a delay. So next up, I'm going to show you my reverb sound. I'm using the Hall of Fame Mini. It's just the itty bitty TC Electronic reverb with just the one knob on it, and I'm using the Big Room with a View tone print. It is my absolute favorite sound in this pedal. It's pretty much, it's absolutely the only thing I use. I've tried some of the other ones and I always come back to this. I can't recommend it enough. It's exactly the reverb sound I hear in my head, so it's perfect for me. It's a huge room sound with a bunch of modulation on it, so you get this really pretty swirly sound. Right now I've got it running maybe around 70%, something like that. And so here's an example of my current reverb sound. Yeah, pretty massive reverb there. So I'm going to start putting this stuff together and we'll walk through application. So I've got my delay and reverb on. I think first up we'll just work through some swells. It's pretty simple. I have a volume pedal that I like to use for swells. I know that there are guys who use an auto swell function on their delay pedal, or they have an auto swell dedicated pedal. Whereas other people maybe use the volume knob on their guitar. All of those are great options. I use a reverb pedal just because it's what I like and it's what I've been using and it's comfortable. But yeah, so I'm going to use the volume pedal to swell in some chords. I'll play the chord and then I'll swell it in. So you're getting that nice big delay and reverb wash, but you're losing the attack of you actually hitting the strings on your guitar. yeah, good stuff. It's a great way to get the attack out of what you're playing. You're really just swelling in those notes, and so you're creating these big washy swells behind whatever's happening. I'd say the next step is not using the volume pedal. Let's say you do want that attack as you're playing through these chords and stuff. I would say I do this more frequently than I use my volume pedal to swell chords in. I generally like that attack, and I want for it to sit right on top of the note. So I also should mention for this I'm using my neck pickup. I've got my volume and tone controls wide open for the moment. We'll address some of that in a little bit. So here we go without the volume pedal. Cool, so I think next step there, we'll kind of do that same thing, but I'm going to bring my tone control all the way down. And then as I'm playing through chords, I'll start to open it up a little bit more, and I'll add in some more of that brightness, just so you can hear dynamically how much this does for the sounds that you're using here. So that's a pretty big difference, especially if you look at where I started to where I ended. That's a great way to darken your guitar up a little bit to fit what's happening, or brighten it up some to fit what's happening, or even slowly add to create kind of a rise and create a little bit more dynamic. So another thing that we're going to work through, I talked about a couple of videos ago, is working through triads. And so I'll do that on the D, G, and B strings. I'll play the same exact progression that I have been. I'll start off ringing through those chords, and then on the next pass, I'll start picking around the chords. And so you still get these nice washes and these nice textures, but just a couple of different ways to execute. So yeah, that's a sound I use a whole lot, whether I'm just playing straight through the chords or whether I'm outlining through those chords. I think that's a great way to add some ambience and some texture. Another thing that I'll do is I'll play higher up on the fretboard, especially if it's a very down moment. You know, let's say it's only acoustic or only keys, and there needs to be something sitting up kind of up high, filling that space. This is a little bit less relying on note information for the guitar. This, in my opinion, this is sitting a lot more in just a genuine delay and reverb wash. I'm going to play some simple notes here, kind of in like a looped pattern. I'm going to play it very, very lightly. I'll start, let's start with our tone control rolled all the way off, and again, I'll add to it kind of in between, and start brightening it up and brightening it up and brightening it up. So what I'm doing here, I'm still going to be playing in the key of C, and I'm just playing three notes. I'm playing the G, or the fifth, the C, the root, and then I'm playing another G up high. So it's just very, very clean, very, very simple. And I'm going to try to play with my attack pulled back as much as possible and just really, really let the delay and reverb do their thing. So again, another huge application for your tone control, you know, starting with a darker sound and brightening it up as you go, or even the other way, you could start brighter and start to darken it up, maybe play a little bit harder as you move on. I use that a lot in again, very, very down, very quiet moments, just to create a little bit of that like up top kind of swirly sound. I think the last thing that I'm going to work through I use a whole lot as well, is washing out some trem picking. So basically you are picking just a single note and just picking very, very fast through that. And using your effects to wash that out and kind of create this this awesome texture. You can move around on your notes and complement the chord progression that's being played. So I'm going to start. Again, neck pickup. I'll keep it the tone control wide open for this. I think we've kind of shown some of that tone control application a good bit. So here we go with washing out some trem picking. And this is one of those things that I think sounds really awesome because of the effects that you're playing. But without these effects, it's not terribly usable. Some of this stuff dry just doesn't sound incredible. So let me turn off my reverb and delay, and let me show you kind of where that trem picking would sit without them. So yeah, as you heard, the effects really add a lot, and that's okay. You know, some of these textures and some of these parts are not the coolest thing necessarily to play, but in those moments, I think you really are playing to your effects. If we backtrack a little bit and listen to that simple picking pattern I was playing earlier, I think it sounds great when you wash it out with effects, but without it, it's pretty lackluster. So I'll do the same thing. We'll go back to that. I'll turn off my delay and reverb, and then I'll add it as we go along. So yeah, huge difference. I think the big thing when you're using effects like this is ultimately to try and keep your your playing as simple as possible, because you've got your delay repeating and you've got your reverb washing stuff out. I think ultimately the less that you do, the better. I think that in those moments it's good to put your emphasis on your effects rather than on your guitar itself. Those effects are going to run away and just absolutely blow up whatever you're playing. So if you can play a little bit simpler and keep some of that note information very, very simple, ultimately I think that's going to help your process and what you're trying to create. So again, delay, big old washy reverb, I think is just absolutely critical for these sounds. But it by no means does it have to be this delay and this reverb. There are so many incredible options now from awesome pedal designers. And so try them out, mix and match, see what you like, see what you don't like. You know, that's always easier for me to determine. It's easier for me to point out what I don't like than it is for me to point necessarily to what I really like. I don't know why, I've just always thought that way. But yeah, so give it a shot, work through it, and have fun. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you would, subscribe, click the bell, you know, that way you're notified whenever I post new videos, all of that fun housekeeping type stuff that we say at the end of these YouTube videos. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Colin Rich. Have a great day.